Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Total War Warhammer 2, the Shadow and Blade DLC. I played a series of games the other day. I haven't had time to play a whole lot. I've started some campaign, and I've played a few multiplayer games, all as, of course, good old Death Master Snikch as Clan Eshin. So I'm playing around with some of the new units, having fun, and in this game, I'm going to go over two replays today. In this game, I decided to update something that I did a while back. A while back, I played a game as the Invisible Army, well before this DLC, with Skitter Leap, hiding some units, and Death Runners, and Gutter Runners, and all that stuff. So now, with the release of the Eshin DLC, I thought, great, what a chance to play the Invisible Army, but better. So that is what I have assembled here. I'm going up against a guy from the Total War Warhammer Discord server, going under the name Natty Bumpo, and he is playing, of course, as Bretonia with Réponse de Lyonesse, Lioness, something like that. And it looks like he's just looking at his build. He's brought pretty much a peasant build. So he's got a big old peasanty build here. Got some cavalry hidden over in the woods, Grail Knights, and a Damsel of Life. And then in the middle, we've got a front line of peasant mobs. We've got some spearmen at arms, some men at arms. More spearmen over there. 4 units of archers, just standard peasant bowmen. 1 questing knight in the back. Those questing knights do look cool. And then, of course, we have the new folks. We have Réponse de Lyonesse, and we have Big Henry, who is large even on foot. He took him on foot just to see if he was large on foot, and he is. He is a thick boy. So, Réponse de Lyonesse here has... he hasn't taken everything that she has, but she has some physical resistance from the Guardian of Henry there. She has the Fleur-de-Lis banner, so +9 melee defense and attack in an AoE around her, which is very, very good for peasants. She's got the Halo of Maidenly Wrath, which is an explosion that also blinds people, and the Sword of Lyonesse, which is +40 melee attack and +half damage for 24 seconds. It's very powerful, but it does have a long recharge time. She's got a bonus versus infantry, so she's pretty solid there, and she has the Guardian from Henry Le Massif. Good old Big Henry with his Guardian. He's basically just a paladin, except he can ride a hippogriff. He's only available for Réponse's faction, but him on a hippogriff is honestly pretty freaking solid. And I, meanwhile, have, as I said, an entirely invisible army. So when the game starts, good old Natty Bumpo there can't see anything. In the corner over here, I have an assassin and the Death Master himself. Death Master Snikch is a very, very powerful character. I'll talk about him in a second. Along with a couple of Death Runners, one of which is Visktrin's Death Squad, the new ROR Death Runners, which have mad stats. And the Eshin Triads, of course, are basically anti-large Death Runners instead of anti-infantry. Death Runners now have a +10 bonus versus infantry. Eshin Triads are cheaper and have much shittier leadership, but have a +15 bonus versus large. Over here I have 4 Gutter Runners, 2 with poison and 2 without. Over here I've got 2 more Death Runners plus Ixcha's Triads, which I misuse very badly in this game, I have to point out. They are the ROR Triads. Better stats, plus they have this Doppelgang ability. I do not make good use of Doppelgang in this game, unfortunately. And I have an Eshin Sorcerer. Eshin Sorcerers have the new lore of Stealth, which is pretty freaking great. They are stealthy and have concealment bombs, as with all Eshin units. They have Brittle Bone, which is a massive debuff. -40 melee defense for 39 seconds, plus a speed and vigor debuff. That's impressive. Armor of Darkness I've given him, which gives +60 armor and missile resistance to the target. Veil of Shadows. I'm not sure yet how good this is. I think it's probably pretty good. But it's a vortex that doesn't actually do any damage. It just, it knocks people around. And it's stationary, so you can just place it somewhere, and it will basically blow all the enemies out of that area without affecting your own troops. So I thought, well, maybe this is really good for opening up holes in enemy battle lines and stuff. Anyway, I don't think I made very good use of that either. And then he has Toxic Rain, which is the lore attribute, which gives a minor poison effect to the whole map for 8 seconds every time he casts. And then over... I think that's my whole army over here on the flank. So yeah, Gutter Runners, Death Runners, Triads, Death Runners, Triads, and I have Snikch and the Assassin Squad. Now, Snikch is interesting. I popped the concealment bombs on all these guys. You cannot pop concealment bombs as a group, by the way. You have to pop them individually. So what I'm hoping to do is I was hoping to drag those questing knights into my Eshin Triads while they have the concealment bombs up, because they won't see these guys until they get very, very close. You can see here, they're still hidden, still hidden, still hidden, still hidden. Now they're visible. But the questing knights had already started to break off for some reason, so alas, I didn't manage to get the ambush off. But Deathmaster Snikch, I'm gonna pause things a little bit here. Deathmaster Snikch has incredibly high melee attack. He has the Weeping Blade effect. He does armor-piercing damage. His damage also scales, it says. So he does more damage when the target is already damaged, which can be very, very powerful. He has the Cloak of Shadows, which is a debuff around him. The Deathmaster's Sigil, which is an anti-lord net. It's like Effigy to get, except it doesn't do any damage and it doesn't last quite as long. And Concealment Bombs. He also has a Vortex he can take, which is centered on himself. And just stat-wise, he's very, very good at fighting duels. So, the enemy cavalry is getting away, unfortunately. I'm bringing in my troops up front here. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to land a massive punch on the flank of the army. Unfortunately, I got a little bit too close over here. My Eshin Sorcerer was seen. So I have to... yeah, he doesn't have... I guess for some reason he's more visible than the Death Runners and the Triads are and everything. I'm trying to get together over here so that I can launch a massive blow on this side of the enemy army. I'm attempting to draw attention with my Gutter Runners. This would have worked a lot better if I hadn't been seen over on this side, but they're moving in just so they can do a little shooting, draw a little attention, you know, boogie on down a bit. And I think at this point he pretty much knows that I'm all over on his flank, but we're setting up to go in for the attack. I do have some Death Runners coming in towards these Spearmen at Arms. I'm hoping to get a nice flank off. The Gutter Runners are moving in to throw their Ninja Stars. And the first charge is coming in. Now, Death Runners are not very good at charging, and of course, they're also getting hit by missiles, but they should still carve through these Spearmen at Arms pretty quickly. And I've got another unit of Death Runners, Vistrin's Death Squad, moving in to hit some of the archers. So we get a nice clean charge on some Peasant Bowmen. Unfortunately, the Questing Knights immediately turn around and rear charge me. And my own anti-cavalry units are a little too far away. So the Spearmen at Arms are broken. There's a unit of Battle Pilgrims that have come in, however, and they're very, very hard to break. But we're surging on past in order to reinforce Vistrin's Death Squad and hopefully take out both the Peasant Bowmen and the Questing Knights. We've dropped Brittle Bone, so their melee defense is 0, which means they are getting trash canned. Up here, got some Men-at-Arms that we're fighting. They've successfully intercepted the Triads, and Triads are very, very fragile. Because one of the major changes... I have to pause here. I'm sorry, this is going too quick. One of the major changes in this update is that both Death Runners and Triads have only 54 models per unit. Everyone in this blob, by the way, has been massively debuffed by Reponse, but my Assassin and Deathmaster Snikch are both charging in to hit Reponse themselves. So all of our stats are garbage right now. We've broken the Questing Knights, or almost broken them. Even with my stats so badly debuffed, they have melee defense 0, so they're still sucking. But Henry and Reponse are in the middle there, along with some more Battle Pilgrims, which are routing, and we're trying to storm through here. So right now, situation's looking pretty good. We're sweeping in this way. We're fighting up here, but we've kind of gotten blobbed up. Some of the enemy archers have gotten away. So we've wiped out one of their archer units, but they still have 3. In here, the Deathmaster goes in against Reponse and does some pretty good fucking damage right off the bat. But Reponse is now trying to get away from us. But look at that. Look at her HP bar go down. Like, that was... She's taken chunks of damage. Big, meaty chunks of damage. And my opponent realizes that and immediately tries to get Reponse away. Meanwhile, in this fight, the Battle Pilgrims have come in, and despite having 0 melee attack, they're doing well enough to hold off my Death Runners. Vistrin's Death Squad, 65 kills, but still not doing great. Pulling these guys back to try and get another charge on the Men-at-Arms. Unfortunately, both Death Runners have a decent charge bonus, but Triads have a really, really bad charge bonus. The Questing Knights are coming back in. Since they don't have any shields, they're getting pummeled by the Throwing Stars, so they are routed. But Reponse is broken, but not dead, and is retreating towards her archers. Meanwhile, up here, this is the big problem. We got Grail Knights coming in, and I do not have a good counter to Grail Knights. My Eshin Triads are currently locked in combat. They can't brace. And one of the big weaknesses of this kind of army, the Invisible Army, is that I don't have any mass units. So the Grail Knights are going to ruin me. You can see here they sweep in on the Triads. The Triads take massive damage on the charge, and the Grail Knights just cycle right out again. I don't have anything that can stop them. Over here, we charged in an effort to catch Reponse. Here I drop the vortex, and you can see it knocks everybody over except Snikch. So Snikch can now get through that unit and get after the Damsel of Life. He should really, at this point, have just changed and gone after Rapunzel. Instead, the Damsel of Life locks him down for a little bit. So he's fighting. He does a ton of damage to the Damsel, but then he gets absolutely punted by some animation or other. Unfortunately, at this point, my army is just breaking. The Death Runners are running. The Gutter Runners are not firing for some reason. Up here, these Grail Knights, they've taken quite a bit of damage fighting my Eshin Triads, because Eshin Triads do actually have pretty good anti-large stats. We can look at them here. The Eshin Triads. Yeah, 24 weapon strength. No, not the Death Runners, the Eshin Triads. Eshin Triads. Right now, they're actually affected by They're affected by poison. So they've been hit in the back by poison sling darts, unfortunately. But still, they have a 15 bonus versus large. So they do pretty well against large targets. And they are, as I said, to be honest, they are actually being cost efficient against the Grail Knights. They're doing damage to the Grail Knights at an appropriate rate. But this unit is just getting charged to hell. And this assassin, he's trying his best, but he's not able to save the situation. The Gutter Runners are pouring in, but they're taking a lot of arrow fire from these shielded peasant bowmen. Snikch is still desperately chasing Rapunzel, but he has gotten completely surrounded by questing knights and spearmen. And he takes damage very quickly, so he is actually going to break. He desperately drops the Deathmaster's Sigil to try and kill Rapunzel, but he just can't get to her. The cavalry is all around him, and his attack animations keep getting misdirected onto the cav. So unfortunately, Snikch breaks just before he can land the death blow. I think one more round of attacks, he would have been able to kill Rapunzel. Up here, I've got a lot of units kind of standing around for a minute. They're going to start flooding southwards. The cavalry, the half-health Grail Knights, have charged down to join in the fight against the Gutter Runners, and the Gutter Runners are not going to win that fight. These Gutter Runners are getting chased off. Snikch is routed and is being chased off by cavalry with 58 HP. He's not coming back. Visktrin's Death Squad over here has 71 kills, but is basically done for. And in the middle, we've now just got a mass melee around the Eshin Sorcerer. Gutter Runners can't stand up in this kind of fight. Trying to get the assassin into Rapunzel, but Rapunzel is just surrounded by cavalry. Not going to go down, unfortunately. So that, I think, is going to be the end of my hopes. With Rapunzel, not able to be assassinated, the Bretonnian army is going to stand up. They're going to keep cycle charging with the Grail Knights. I don't have enough of my Eshin Triads left to stop them. I have 44 left here, but relatively little HP, and they're broken now anyway. So, alas, didn't quite manage to pull off the surprise attack well enough. Good college try, but didn't quite manage to do it. Those Death Runners are heading for the hills. Over here, Snikch, still alive, hasn't taken any damage from these questing knights, but likewise is not coming back. We're gonna throw a few more shuriken. My assassin here going in against Rapunzel again. Just get out of the way, humans. Man things, move. Must stab. The Gutter Runners are gonna come in, try and break them off so that I can get to Rapunzel. But the Damsel of Life is coming in to help, and now my assassin is breaking due to army losses, and that is the whole ball game. So the Clan Eshin Invisible Army is defeated by the Bretonnian Crusade. Very, very sad. In terms of what did well and what did poorly, the Death Runners overall did pretty well. The Gutter Runners, everything in isolation actually worked okay. And to be honest, if I had managed it slightly better, I think I could have won this battle. My timing was a little bit off. I didn't manage to crack the flank of the enemy position quickly enough, and I let Rapunzel get away. If I had managed to kill Rapunzel and possibly kill Henry, both of those, when they got into combat with the Goon Squad, with Snikch and the Assassin, they got shellacked. They were getting wrecked very, very quickly. But they managed to pull out through their own troops. I needed to be more on the ball with my micro of Snikch, the Assassin, and the Eshin Sorcerer, so I can drop that Vortex a little bit more quickly, get on top of Rapunzel before my opponent could block me. Then I might have been able to win that one. Honestly, I didn't feel like I was really outmatched in terms of troops. I just felt like I mishandled my attack. I needed the timing of the attack to be a little bit closer. I needed to be more cautious about leaving people further away until I could trigger their bombs and get them in at just the right angle. I needed to show the gutter runners earlier to draw attention, and then have all these guys sneaking up from behind. I will say that one of the big disappointments to me is the fact that if you have a group of units that all have concealment bombs, you cannot activate those concealment bombs with a single click. The option doesn't even appear on your little ability wheel, actually. You have to select the units one by one to activate the concealment bombs. I think you might be able to do it if the group has all exactly the same type of unit. Like, if it's 3 Death Runners, you may be able to activate all their concealment bombs. But if it's 3 Death Runners and 2 Eshin Triads, you can't do it. If it's Snikch and an Assassin, you can't do it. I think even if it's a regular Death Runner and Visktrin's Death Squad, you still can't do it. So that was disappointing. That made the micromanagement a lot harder than it needed to be honest. There's a bunch of additional clicks, and selecting individual units and hitting the button, and selecting the next one and hitting the button, selecting the next one, hitting the button. All that did throw off my timing a little bit. But no excuses. I lost, fair and square. I didn't manage to penetrate through his layers of cheap infantry defense. And to be honest, if he'd gone heavy cavalry, it would have been worse, because the cavalry would have been able to ride just absolutely dirty over my Death Runners. So, let's look at a second one, though. I also fought him. I fought him a total of 4 times. The second one, I was taking a much more traditional Skaven army against the Lizardmen. Once again, I've got Deathmaster Snikch, but I've also got a Plague Priest on the Plague Furnace. I've got a big old line of slaves and some clan rats and chaff. I brought Ixcha's Triads, again. 1 unit of Gutter Runners with poison, 1 Rattling Gun, 2 Poisoned Wind Mortars, these are another new unit, and 3 Rat Ogres for mass. Meanwhile, good old Natty Bumpo here has Nakai the Wanderer, a priest of, I think that's Heavens, 3 red-crested skinks. I thought this was an interesting choice, since Skaven tend not to have a lot of armor, and they're mostly for AP damage. But anyway, he brought 3 of those, a Javelin skink, 3 chameleons, 2 Cold One Riders, 1 Horned One, I forget what that is, I think that's a Bastillodon, and 2 Pterodon Riders. This was kind of a frenetic game. So, well, once again, I'm going to pause when I go in, so I can kind of point stuff out and talk about it real quick. The Poisoned Wind Mortars are the big draw here. I wanted to experiment with them. They're a short-range artillery unit, and what's interesting about them is they don't do a whole lot of damage up front. So you can see these guys here. 9 unit models, well, a total of 18 unit models, actually, but 9 individuals. Low HP, mediocre armor, speed is pretty good, but their stats are pitiful. In terms of missile damage, you can see their missile damage is not impressive for artillery. I mean, compared to mortars, for example, they do not hit hard, but they have this poisoned wind effect, which does damage over time. And I believe the way this works is, this does about 1 damage per tick to, I think, up to 48 models in the target unit. So against a unit of infantry, it's actually incredibly powerful. If you get hit by any of the shots from a poison wind mortar, then for 10 seconds after the last shot lands, you'll be losing HP, and you'll lose a total of about 500 HP or so. So a volley from these guys can do probably like 300 or 400 damage, and then you'll lose another 500 HP in ticks after the last shot has landed. So against infantry units, even infantry units like Chameleon Skinks, for example, they actually are very, very efficient at causing HP damage. Now, they don't kill models very well at all, because that damage is spread out across the whole unit. So they're not going to, like, lower the damage potential of the enemy unit, but they're going to lower its HP a lot, and then any other unit that attacks the unit that you've hit is liable to do quite a bit of damage, and remove a lot of models. So I'm spread out wide here. I've got my Rat Ogres hidden in the trees, along with my Gutter Runners. Those Rat Ogres and Gutter Runners are going to hook around the side. These ones are going to stay hidden for a little while. I've seen a Chameleon Skink, so I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should hit it with a mortar, just to see how effective the mortar is. I've got my Rattling Guns in the center as well, trying to kind of guard my units. And I can see some Pterodon Riders, so I'm like, well, the Rattling Guns, they'll throw in a few shots, but then they're probably going to have to go help against the Pterodon Riders. So here come the mortars in. You can see on impact, they don't do hardly any damage to the Chameleon Skinks, but then that damage over time effect starts, and it is just ticking down. It is ticking down pretty damn quick. Chameleon Skinks in total take actually a lot of damage from that. And then I shift my fire onto the red-crested skinks. So, over here, we've got the Pterodons. I'm warding them off with some Rattling Gun fire from range, so it's not the most effective, and they are going to move out of the way, kind of duck, dip, and dive. But that artillery fire is doing pretty well. I have a unit of Skaven slaves that is broken, but you can see here, these chameleon skinks are they're almost dead. And this is primarily from mortar fire. The poison wind mortars are doing yeoman's work. Over here on the flank, the enemy, the Lizardman cavalry, is overloading my flank quite successfully. They smashed a unit of Skaven slaves. I am poisoning their Cold One Riders from behind, and I've got more clan rats and Skaven slaves nearby, so I can keep blocking them up a little bit. But now my rat ogres desperately need to move forward and get involved. The gutter runners over here are well positioned. In comes Nakai, and we're getting kind of a blob forming here in the center, while the Rattling guns are starting to focus on the Bastillodon with the Arc of Sotek. Nice little wind there hitting me, but once again, now the Horned Ones have gotten hit by the mortars, and look, the Horned Ones are also taking a lot of damage over time from it. The DOT effect just really, really works. It does a lot of work. Got some Rat Ogres back here, still hanging out. None of my Rat Ogres have yet been committed, so I still have all of my mass. I still have all of that defensive potential. Really, I probably should have committed them a little bit earlier, but I wanted to have that kind of in my back pocket. Here comes the first of the Rat Ogres coming in to try and stop this little rampage. The Horned Ones are almost dead. The Bastillodon, however, has taken very little damage. To be honest, I've been a little bit disappointed in the activity of my Rattling guns here. My mortars are engaged in combat, but just against some red-crested skinks who are being blocked up by clan rats. It's not that big a deal. Meanwhile, these guys are getting poisoned. My little rat boys there, unfortunately, got absolutely wrecked. Poison wind mortars, throwing in some fire at short range. They're doing more damage to me than anyone else, I think. But yeah, they're definitely doing more damage to me than anyone else. They really should have targeted something else. But the Pterodon Riders are getting in on top of them. Pterodon Riders swooping in from this side. Got some rallying units coming back in. You can see why I call this kind of a frenetic battle. Over here, my Plague Priest is just fighting Nakai the Wanderer and getting the absolute shit kicked out of him. Here come the Cold Ones. The Cold Ones are rushing in, wiping out my back line. But if I can just get a mortar shot on them, I'll start doing massive, massive damage. Mortar shots going on over there towards the Skink cohort with javelins. They're taking damage over time. Rat Ogres charging in to stop the Pterodon Riders. Let's take a wide look again. I've got some Skaven slaves over here that I should be pulling back in just a second. Lots of units routing, but it's mainly slaves. My Rattling guns, unfortunately, have been broken. But they did eventually do quite a bit of damage to that Bastillodon. So they had their... They did their yeoman's work. Rat Ogres are now finishing off the Bastillodon. Got some more Skaven slaves and my gutter runners in the center, and I do have one Poison Wind mortar team free, which has been firing on that Skink cohort. You can see the Poison Wind mortars have gotten almost no kills, but they've done a lot of damage, and that's what I needed them to do. Down over here, the Cold One Riders are escaping. My two mortars are still both operational. They're now guarded by Rat Ogres and by Deathmaster Snikch, who charged into these Pterodon Riders and did some real damage to them. Down over on this end, however, Nakai has finished beating the hell out of my Plague Priest, together with his rampaging Horned Ones, which got 126 kills, but mainly slaves, and his Skink Priest of the Heavens has just finished breaking off some Clan Rats in conjunction with more of those Horned Ones. My Gutter Runners are nearby, though, so I'm still in, honestly, pretty good shape. This is my biggest problem. These guys are just about to charge into my back line. The Rat Ogres, alas, have now been poisoned, but they're going to break these Skink cohort with javelins pretty quickly, and these guys, while they are charging in, they're not hitting this unit of mortars. So those mortars are going to land some shots, and now all of these Cold Ones are suffering damage over time. And since they have lower HP pools than average for infantry, it's more effective against them. Deathmaster Snikch in this game, by the way, did take his Vortex. He just tripped it and killed about 8 or 9 of those Cold One Riders. So, these mortars once again have escaped. These mortars have been broken now. But we've got Rat Ogres coming in. The Cold One Riders are rampaging because they're still taking that damage over time effect, and it's about to be reapplied. We've locked down Nakai the Wanderer, and now Snikch is going in to give him the business. He does have his Primal Roar active, but I think I can still take him out. My mortars are finally being taken offline, but they did a ton of damage. Ixchia's Triads are in the work now. My Gutter Runners are chasing off the Skink Priest of Heavens, and I'm collapsing back in, so I've basically solidified this flank. The enemy is desperately working to take my my mortars off the field, but in the process they're taking a lot of damage. The Pterodon Riders are getting hit pretty hard. Over here, more Pterodon Riders finishing off the Rattling Guns, although the Rattling Guns, it says, are actually winning, hilariously. But now it's basically just Nakai the Wanderer alone. These Poison Wind Mortars are going to get driven off by Cold One Riders. We've got some Skaven Slave Spears over there. Not too concerned about those. The Rattling Guns are going to get bullied away, but Nakai is in trouble. He is being pursued by Ixchis Triads, the Deathmaster, and Rat Ogres, while a few surviving Poison Wind Mortars are running behind my lines, and my Gutter Runners, now free of ammunition, are moving forward to push the remaining Chameleon Skink Skirmishers back. So these rats are actually just going to charge right in. The Cold One Riders didn't see them coming until just too late. Over here, meanwhile, Nakai is, in trouble. He's been surrounded, he's getting stabbed by the Triads, punched by Rat Ogres, and of course, shivved by Deathmaster Snikch. The Pterodons both dive in a desperate attempt to save their boss, but he's taken quite a lot of damage, and Snikch is at full health still, or nearly full health. Up here, Cold One Riders have rampaged into Rat Ogres. They're getting punched to hell. My units have all gotten broken off, but in the process, they have also broken Nakai, and the Pterodon Riders have taken a lot of damage. We now lock Nakai down with the Deathmaster's Sigil, and Deathmaster Snikch comes in to stab, and army losses break the Lizardman army. And that is the game. And just at the end there, you can see that my one unit of mortars was starting to come back. So, the lesson that I drew from this game, Poison Wind Mortars are really, really good. I mean, they didn't get that many kills, like I said, but the kills in the case of this unit, the kills radically underestimate how much damage they do, how much of an effect they have on the battle. Those Poison Wind Mortars are most of what did the damage that took out the Corned Ones. They did most of the damage that took out one of the Chameleon Skinks and at least one, possibly two of the Red-Crested Skinks, plus a Skink cohort. And they laid a lot of HP damage on the Cold One Riders as well. So they enabled other units to get way more kills than they should have gotten, realistically speaking, particularly my Rat Ogres. The Rat Ogres, generally speaking, were charging into fights where the enemy was being debilitated by the Poisoned Wind, and absolutely smacking the hell out of various already injured models, and doing really, really well for themselves. You can see here, the kills on my side were nothing exceptional. Of course, I was fighting against quite a small army. But honestly, I'm not even sure this actually adds up to that 438. My Chaff basically did what Chaff does, except this Clan Rat unit, which I think must have pursued a unit of broken Red-Crested Skinks off the map, or close. Ixchis Triads actually kind of did their job. They were hidden until the fighting was fully joined. At that point, it was too late to avoid them, which is what I wanted. The Rattling Guns, likewise. The Rattling Guns kind of underperformed in this game, but they did perform one absolutely vital role, which was they chewed away most of the HP of the Bastillodon with the Ark of Sotak. So they got the terror-causing monster off the field. And then they laid significant amounts of damage on the Pterodon Riders as well. Could have been better, but overall I think they did a solid job. Really their best against flying units, at least. They're much, much better if you have a Warlock Engineer who can cast Howling Warp Gale. But I just didn't have room for it in the build. The Plague Priest, there were a couple of summons that I'm not sure that I caught where the Plague Priest, earned his paycheck. Overall, would a Warlock Engineer have been a better idea? Possibly. A Warlock Engineer is a lot cheaper. It might have allowed me to upgrade some of my infantry. But the build definitely did the job. So, that's it for today. There will be more exploration of the Eshin DLC. I will continue my quest to make the Invisible Army work. I think it can work. It needs careful handling, and to be honest, my micromanagement is not the very best. So that's definitely contributory to why it failed. But I feel like this build or something very like it can be quite functional, even in multiplayer, as long as you're very, very careful about who gets seen and when and where. The Triads, I think I might have to use the Death Runners as one group and the Triads as another group. I'll experiment to see which way allows me to trigger an entire group's concealment bombs at once, because that really will be a game changer. If I can do that, then I can kind of help my guys maneuver around in a more sensible way. But to be honest, even if you trigger the concealment bombs a little bit early, it's always better to trigger them early because they last for over a minute. You have plenty of time to move around while the concealment bombs are active, and you can get very, very close before anybody sees you with those bombs active. So in any case, thanks for watching. Shadow and the Blade, great DLC. I'm loving it to bits. The campaign is lots of fun. The battles are lots of fun. The new Eshin units are great. I haven't done a whole lot with the Dark Elf stuff yet because I've never really been a Dark Elf player. I know there is plenty of cool new Dark Elf stuff. I think there's the High Beastmaster. He's a cheap Lord option who gives them anti-large, and he can be on a Scourge Runner chariot. Scourge Runner chariots are devastating. Scourge Runner chariots are so powerful. They have, where is it? Missile Cavalry and Chariots. Yeah, they're only 950. And they're like, in terms of stats, they are basically Cold One chariots. Except they have longer range, they have anti-large missiles, which are very, very powerful against monsters and cavalry. They're fast, they have 84 speed. So they're almost impossible for enemy cavalry to catch, especially because those enemy cavalry are being constantly whittled down by the missiles they fire. Because, I mean, each hit from one of these missiles is likely to kill a model of most average cavalry. Like, if you look at Cold One Knights, well, actually, I guess they only do 92 damage, so it'll take 2 hits to kill a cavalry model, usually. But still, they're firing 6 missiles per 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds, your 45 model cavalry unit is losing 3 models when you're chasing a Scourge Runner chariot, even if it has no support whatsoever. And it has plenty of ammunition to kill an entire unit with. I don't know why anyone would ever bring Cold One chariots when Scourge Runner chariots exist. They're really, really good. Beyond that, you have the Blood Rack Medusas now. I haven't seen a whole lot of them. My impression is that they're pretty specialized. They're not good in melee. They have, mediocre health values, mediocre leadership, low armor, and not super impressive melee stats in any other regard. Their range is low, their missile damage is quite impressive. Like, they will blow a hole in units when they hit it with that missile attack. But, I don't know. The Bloodwrack Medusas, the Bloodwrack Shrine is, I think, a lot better in melee since it's a chariot. And it has the same missile attack, but it's very expensive. I mean, 1800. It does have these AoE buffs and debuffs, so in a blob build, I think the Bloodwrack Shrine is probably a really good buy. But, like I said, very expensive. So, I'll play around with the Dark Elf stuff a little bit. Like I said, they've never been my favorite. I've never played a lot with them, but I'll mess around with it a bit and see what I think. Mainly, of course, for me, this is a Skaven DLC, and it's one that's been very, very good to the Skaven. The Clan Eshin stuff is all fascinating. I won't say it's all really good. I do definitely have, like, complaints and concerns and stuff, and things that I think could stand to be buffed, like triads in general. But overall, having a lot of fun, and I hope you are too. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.